Hello and welcome to probably my most ambitious video yet, and it's about me talking about Mario RPGs. How fitting. Now, I must warn you, some of these opinions are horrible, like they are comedically bad, so be ready to be either angered, confused, or any other series of emotions by these that probably aren't good ones. So, just as an explanation for how this works, I will talk about each individual title, I will explain what each tier means, and that's all you really need to know. It's a tier list. There isn't much to this. So without any further ado, Bowser's Inside Story. There is no need to explain what this tier is. It says so right on the tin. It's Bowser's Inside Story. It is by far Nintendo's best game, with a phenomenal soundtrack, with it looking really good, with nothing wrong with it, except for like one thing or two things. It's perfect. The carrot minigame is not as bad as you people say. You were just having issues with it when you were like 4. Come on. If you want to talk bad minigames in that game, go to the stupid nose one. That one is actually not good. But the rest of the game, now that, perfection. I don't care which way you do it, be it through actually buying the game, or getting an emulator of some sorts. You should play this game on whatever you can. Preferably it's normal hardware, but play it. It's the best one. Now, this next tier is a lot more complicated than the Bowser's Inside Story one, so listen up. Super is games that are fantastic, like Bowser's Inside Story, but they aren't Bowser's Inside Story, so they can't be put in there, can they? So yeah, essentially, these games are really good, like really, really good. That's all I need to say. Starting off in the Super tier with Super Paper Mario. Yeah, fun fact, there's 2 games in this tier with the word Super in it. That's fun, right? So, Super Paper Mario is, as you can tell by its placement, by far my favorite Paper Mario title. With one of the best stories within, arguably, the entire RPGs, nice wording there, bud, some fantastic music, and even though a lot of people don't like them, I quite enjoy the character designs. Also the gameplay, which is another thing a lot of people don't like. I can completely understand why a lot of people did not like this game. I mean, coming off of the heels of Paper Mario 64 and Thousand Year Door, of course there's going to be just, some people that think, no. However, over time, thanks to good old Sticker Star and Color Splash, people have now looked at this game in a new light thinking, I mean, it had a lot of the elements that I liked. Sure, it didn't have all of them, but it still had some of them, which you can't really say for these two. My only issue with the game is that the pixels, that's what they're supposed to be called probably, they don't do much. Unlike the partners, which in themselves had very little dialogue in the first 2 games, these things, they show up, they say their stuff, they have their own unique personality, and then they never speak again. Which is just kind of a waste. Why bother going through all this effort to give them their own unique personality and way of speak and whatever else, only to then never utilize them ever again? Sure, it'll make for the memorable cutscene, but like, you don't have Zelda items coming up and speaking to you. Minish Cap doesn't count. Next is another title with the word Super. I swear this is the running theme. There's only 3 Mario RPGs with Super in the title. Actually, the original Superstar Saga. Which accidentally leads into Superstar Saga Remake. I love this. It is incredibly beautiful with amazing music and amazing gameplay. It's got great story, great writing. It is what a Mario RPG should be, as long as we're not including Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story from Nintendo DS. Because, I mean, come on. It's Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story from Nintendo DS. One big issue that we will be getting into later on is that I don't like how Superstar Saga has aged. In a lot of ways, you can really tell it was made a good 20 odd years ago. So this remake does a really, really good job at making it on par with some of the rest of the titles, to the fact where quite a lot of people say that this is their favourite one, which is blasphemy. The only issue this one has isn't even to do with the main game. The side mode plus Bowser's minions kinda blows. The story, that's great, the writing, that's great, everything that's great about the main game is in there, except the battles. Whoa, do they suck. The only control you really get is action commands, where you press the button at the right time, or you press it really fast, or you press it upside down, there you go. As well as whatever the captain's abilities are and picking which people to bring with you. But it just isn't enjoyable, at least not nearly as much as the main title. You'd be better off just looking up on YouTube what all of the cutscenes are and watching it there. But overall, it is an amazing title that kinda got done dirty by the fact that they released it right when the Switch had released. That's just stupid. I highly doubt that you had no clue that Nintendo was making a new console, or what the new console was, because I'm pretty sure that Nintendo would hand out dev kit builds, which is how the Switch got, well, I wouldn't say leaked, but parts of it were found out early on. But trust me, we'll be getting into Alpha Dream doing some stupid stuff when it comes to Mario and Luigi remakes a little bit later on. Ooh, be prepared for then, folks. When it comes to discussing Paper Mario as a franchise, this next title I'll be talking about rarely is ever talked about. You always hear about how the 1000-Year Door is fantastic, it's what Paper Mario should be, peak of perfection. Hear about how Super was the black sheep of the family, hear about good old Sticker Star being Color Splash being a step in the right direction, and of course the Origami King being incredibly decisive. But, as I said, this one is always overlooked. Paper Mario 64. See, I love Paper Mario 64 to bits. It is a really enjoyable time, and it has a lot of things over the 1000-Year Door in my opinion, such as world building. Now, 1000-Year Door, right? How do you get to the first location? Pipe. Second location? Pipe. Third location? I think you go on a blimp. Fourth location? Back to pipes. The majority of the game, you're going to a pipe to go to the next location, so even though on the map it shows that all the places are right next to each other, they could be on the other side of the planet. There is nothing connecting them together, not even like a, oh look, we see the next area of the game from here, or anything like that. There's nothing. While Paper Mario 64, how do you get to the first area? You walk there. Second, you go by a train, but you can watch as it slowly transitions. Third area, you walk there. Fourth, you walk there. See how that's good? Well, I mean, the fourth you walk and find it, but that is good world building. You can tell the way that it is, the way that the world works. It's fictional climate. That's good. I like that. I also like how Princess Peach's castle has been taken up. You get to explore it at the beginning of the game as Mario. Well, not every single room, but, you know, a good couple, then that's where you get to play as Peach. And then after those Peach, little sessions, when you finally get there, you get to explore the castle, and that's another really cool thing. As I've already said a bunch with the rest of these before, and probably a lot of these after, it has got some great music. Now, the only big issue that I have with the game is that the prologue, you can't do action commands in, which is Paper Mario's whole thing. I remember when I had first got the game, my ma tried it, and hated it, because you just have to sit there and get hit. But if she had actually gotten past that first bit, then, you know, there you go, you can actually try. You can actually play the bloody game instead of just press button, they hit you, you've hit them, repeat. Overall though, which is a phrase you're going to be hearing quite a fair bit, this game, very, 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 very. Speaking of games that are very, 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 and relating to Paper Mario, now this technically is not a Paper Mario title, or Mario and Luigi, or any Mario RPG. Mario is not at all in this, but I have included it because it's Bug Fables. It's practically Mario. Bug Fables is a game that set out to say, hey, you know what, we are really displeased with what Nintendo's currently been doing with Paper Mario. How about we make our own with what we actually want to bloody see? So the team behind it started Kickstarter, and then here we are, a good while later. I didn't know about the game until it actually released, but here we are, game released, very nice. I almost do regret playing it so shortly before the Origami King was announced and released, because that really deteriorated my opinion of the game. Probably. Having a completely brand new Paper Mario adventure that was great, albeit it didn't have Luigi in it, to again go against a new Paper Mario adventure which isn't at all what I want to see, it just made the game a lot more sour. Of course, I have other issues with that game, but we'll be getting to that. One issue that's often been said with that game is that it doesn't look the best, which, yeah, but at the same time, it's an indie title. Now, of course, that's not a big excuse you can use, because, I mean, you know what else is an indie title? Celeste, Hollow Knight, Cuphead. Now those two are worked on for, I bet, a much longer time, as well as they had big studios backing them, but still, indie titles. Personally, I really love the way the game looks, despite the fact that it looks like a bloody well Roblox game. And I also really enjoy the music, which is another thing some people have been going, I don't know about that one. Now look, obviously they cannot compare to some of the stuff done in the actual Paper Marios, especially when it comes to the beginning of the game, because that was before they got really any budget or had that much experience, so the music sounds kind of eh. In fact, if you listen to all the soundtracks right next to each other when they come in the game, you can tell that they slowly got better over time. Like, the final boss theme is just, whoa! Overall, hey look, it's that phrase again. This game is very nice. Please do consider picking it up. It's only $20 where I'm from, and it's on every single console and PC, so you have no excuse now. It was also put onto Game Pass recently enough, so get on it. There is literally nothing stopping you, other than not owning a PC or Game Pass or any systems. But that sounds like a you problem. Our next tier is pretty good. Now, pretty good differs from super, as it's not farther away from Bowser's Inside Story when it comes to quality. Of course, Bowser's Inside Story is the way to tell quality of every single RPG, Paper Mario, RPG, and everything. These games have a couple more flaws that drag it down just a fair bit more than the rest above it, but are still very enjoyable games, especially in comparison to the ones below it. Who would have thought that Mario, and made by Ubisoft, with the composer being Grant Kirkhope, about him crossing over with the funny man from a Rayman game that was also a shooter, would be incredibly enjoyable. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle is it's XCOM-like funny game. To be completely honest with you, it is probably my favorite Mario game on the Switch, which is so strange to say. As I had started off this little bit with, all these elements mixed together should not create a game as good as this one. It astounds me. Now, of course, this game does have issues, as it's in pretty good and not super. Such as, it's very generic in quite a lot of places. Now, don't get me wrong, in comparison to, say, the new Super Mario Bros. Series, this game has a lot of creativity, but still, first level's grasslands, then you go to a desert/ice, which is, combinations of already existing level ideas. Sure, go ahead, that seems like fun, but 99% of the time it's hot with the cold. Ooh, why not have a spooky desert? Or a spooky Iceland? That would be fun. Speaking of spooky, that's the next one, and then you finally end off with fire and lava, because it's Bowser, fire, lava, also caves. Also, spoiler warning, Bowser's the final boss, which, with a game with so much creativity, could you at least not have it be Rabbid Bowser? Which is a character we shockingly did not get to see throughout the entire game. Another issue I have with the game is who you can pick to be in your main party. So in the game you get 3 slots, one of which always has to be Mario. The other 2 can be 2 Rabbids or 1 normal person and a Rabbid. See, this is an issue because Mario kinda blows. A really good team would be Luigi, who can shoot at a very long range, Peach, who can shoot at a very close range, and then somebody else who can do it in the middle range. Peach also has healing. But you can't do this because you must have Mario, and you must have a Rabbid. So you have to substitute Peach out for Rabbid Luigi or Rabbid Peach or something like that, but no. This is the only game out of all these that have received DLC, unless they're secretly making Bug Fables DLC. I mean, they kinda did, but I'm talking about paid DLC. Now this includes a bunch of items that become useless within about half an hour of playing the game, and funny Donkey Kong. One of the bosses in the game is a Rabbid mixed with Donkey Kong, and you fight him, and it's great, really enjoyable. Then that brings the question up of, well, we get to see both the normal and Rabbid equivalent of every single person, so, where's normal Donkey Kong? And that's what we got in this DLC. Funny Donkey Kong Man. And Rabbid Peach. And Rabbid Cranky Kong, because that seems funny. And this one was ridiculously enjoyable, especially the final boss, because just Such a dramatic area, and then, oh look, funny monkey versus 2 funny rabbits, and funny normal monkey. Now, it seems a lot of these issues are going to be fixed within the sequel that was announced during E3. The game looks a lot less generic and seems to have a lot more interesting a story, including the fact that we don't have Bowser as a villain. In fact, Bowser might actually be your final party member that you get, which, that would be fun. Bowser being playable in some manner is always such a great aspect of the Mario RPGs. Anyway, speaking of games, yeah, I'm gonna do that kind of transition in a fair bit. No matter which mainly Nintendo YouTuber you go to, you will always hear the same phrase uttered quite a lot, and usually to be followed by some sort of praise. The 1,000-Year Door, or TTYT. If you've been paying attention, you might know that so far I've put the other 2 of the original trilogy above this one, meaning this one is my least favourite. Don't scream yet. This game is absolutely fantastic. Sure, my first ever playthrough of it was abysmal. I had to do it on Dolphin Emulator, which is fine, but I didn't think of plugging in an Xbox controller or any form of controller, so I played it with a bloody keyboard, and as you might be able to tell, that was not good. However, I then went back to the game with an Xbox controller instead of being a lobotomite with keyboard, and I really enjoyed it. I don't really feel it's necessary to say exactly what elements of this game is good. It's already been crammed down your throat so many times, so let's talk about why it's bad. The backtracking and the world building. As I already said, in the game, most of the time, you just go through a pipe to get to your next location, or you go on some sort of vehicle. I just know, if this game ever was to get remade, I'd love for it to be changed so that you actually walk to these locations. There's actual world building done, instead of each element being, or each stage being completely separated from every single other one. Like, maybe just, oh look, you can see the mountain that we then use at the end of Chapter 7, or start of Chapter 7. You see pamphlets about going to some island, or that there's work starting to be done on an island, which could be Keelhaul Key. While you're flying in the blimp in Chapter 3, you can look at the big boggly tree, because that'd be fun. Stuff like that I feel would really, really help when it comes to this game. Next, the backtracking. Oh dear Christ. In Chapter 4, to get to the main area where the boss is, or the so-called final boss of that area, you have to go through a very narrow path where you have to fight essentially every single enemy along it. Now, this would be fine if you didn't have to then go all the way back to where you started, go back up, go back down, go back up one more time, and then once you've done that, you have to go back down, I think, to then leave and get to the next area. That is just... what? No! Who thought that that was okay? Who thought that it was fine to not have any form of, you know, maybe a pipe they can activate so that it's a lot less painful, or make the path just a bit wider and faster to traverse so that you don't have to fight every single individual enemy? Sure, you can use your new partner's ability to duck under, but that, you know, it doesn't help much. And then Chapter 7, this one gets complained as well about, but it isn't as bad for me, because I'll have opened up every single shortcut. Essentially, you're chasing after a funny white bob-omb, so you go back to pretty much every single area you've been in the game so far. As I said, I've already opened up most of the pathways to there, or shortcuts, so it isn't that painful. And in fact, I kinda like it, because it goes back and shows you, oh look, do you remember being in this place? Do you remember this place? Wow, look, it's the wacky tree, guys! One issue I do definitely have with the game, though, is that it's kind of... it follows along with 64 a bit too much for my liking. I mean, you start off by awaking in some strange new place, where your companion is a Goomba who can look at enemies and tell you, oh look, here's their health, here's their defense, here's this, here's a funny little writing bit about them, as well as being able to headbonk. Also, you meet up with an old Goomba who tells you what to do. Then you go to a grassy plain, which is followed by a town full of Koopas, which are in distress for some reason, where you then go to a castle where you fight the boss and get your first star-shaped object. Did I mention you get a companion who is a Koopa who is blue, who can use their shell to kick? No? Sure, then the next 2 chapters are completely unique and different to what's seen in the first game, but there's still more elements that are shared. a Bob-omb character which explodes and comes back. You team up with a baby sometime along the way. One of your companions is an old woman. Peach is somewhere incredibly high up. Speaking of Peach, you get to play as her in an intermission between every single chapter. You get on a boat and ride to a tropical island where you then head inside of a mountain-shaped object. Luigi has unique pieces of dialogue between every single chapter that you can read about. The game has 8 chapters and a prologue. The 7th chapter has you go into somewhere that's very cold. There's a part where you go on a train. And probably some more that I am forgetting because I am a bit tired. When it does do things that are original though, they're very good things, such as play as Bowser in a 2D game reminiscent of the original Mario Bros. That's fun. Very fun. As well as getting to stomp about and explore locations as him. So overall, still a very enjoyable time with a very good battle system, but still has some issues. I'd recommend it. I love the concept of time travel. It seems very fun. I love the concept of aliens. They might actually be real. In fact, they probably are real. Look at how big the universe is. Oh wait, you can't because you've got a stupid small brain and small eyes. Mixing these two things together, along with Luigi, should make one of the best things ever made by anyone in the history of ever. Instead, it's a game that, as the tier says, is pretty good. When Alpha Dream was making Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, name drop, they did not know about the touchscreen capabilities or the mic or a lot of aspects. All they knew is that they had 2 screens to work with and an additional 2 buttons. The original Mario and Luigi stemmed from the idea of each button can be a character, A for Mario, B for Luigi. Then you have the triggers to alternate between moves and whatever. So the obvious choice for a game where you now had double the buttons would be having double the characters. They did not want this to be unplayable though, as mixing 4 characters that would follow along a line with platforming, yeah, that does not seem like a good idea. So they thought, hey, what if we have it be small characters that they carry about? Who do people carry about? Babies. Whose babies? Then somebody remembered some other employee's idea of time travel. Oh wait, let's make it the Mario and Luigi babies are carrying themselves around. And thus this game was born. Also, aliens are involved because that's another suggestion they had, and they thought that the 2 ideas were so cool that they just smushed them together into this. Despite coming out not too long after Superstar Saga, this game has aged a lot better, as this game really refined what the Mario and Luigi formula is, such as the 2 bros do the funny, double jump. The bros attacks don't have anything to do with the moves that you've just learned, and that you can always find a map somewhere that is easily accessible instead of, oh look, go to this random panel in this one specific room if you want to know where to go, good luck. Now, of course, this game has its faults, as all non-Bowser's Inside Story games do, such as you can barely tell that you've time traveled. See, here's the plot of the game, or the main part, is that you go through a time hole, you go to a new location, you grab whatever you need to grab, you leave, you explore Peach's castle for the next time hole, you jump in it, and you keep doing so till eventually you're at the end of the game. See, if they were to fix this game, this is what they'd have to do, in my opinion. Make it so that you can explore the modern day versions of these locations, and then use the past versions to assist you. So let's say that the aliens are now in the future instead of the past, because if they're in the past, then you know that Mario and Luigi saved the day in the end. So having them be in the future, or the present, makes it seem a lot more uncertain whether or not you'll win. I mean, you'll still win. It's a Nintendo game, you always win. Still, let's say that the big Koopa Coliseum thing in the desert, you can't actually get into it, because they blocked up every single knowable exit. So what you do is you find the time hole, you go back in time to when it was being built, where you then have to sneak around, grab the blueprints, add in a secret passageway that you can then access in the future. And then you keep doing stuff like that. This way, it's a lot more clear that you are actually time traveling, other than the fact that you have little baby Mario and Luigi's and little baby Peach and all that, which maybe people thought that they were their children. Also, Fawful is in this game, which is a very nice thing that I very enjoy. I like how the first 3 Mario and Luigi games were so heavily tied together. First game introduced you to Fawful as a side villain. Second game, he's just kind of in the sewers, chilling. Then in the third game, he's the big bad himself. Then you go to Dream Team, where the only linking element is the funny star spirit Starlo, who As much as I love Bowser's Inside Story, can we stop seeing them, please? We'll get on to that in a little bit, though. And they also appeared in Paper Jam, but by Paper Jam, it could take place at the very start of the series, and other than the fact that Starla was in there, it would make sense. A very, very long time ago, in the bygone, distant age of the 90s, a small little game was made right at the end of the Super Nintendo's lifespan. This game was Super Mario RPG. Now, this was a collaboration between Nintendo and Square, who are very well known for, get ready, RPGs. This game is many's favorite in the whole series, and you know what? I can completely get it. And by series, I mean every single other Mario RPG. This game is filled with just so much character. Its writing is so ridiculously sharp and well done. The music is phenomenal. That's one thing with Square games. Probably. I've only ever played two of them, these being Chrono Trigger and this one, but you know, Chrono Trigger, that sounded nice, and from little tidbits and pieces I've heard from their other titles while being on the internet, those ones sound quite nice too. The battle system is enjoyable, and the story is quite the fun ride. So what's wrong with it? Well, its main thing is that it's aged poorly, and that really isn't a fault to the game itself. It's aged poorly in the same way that Donkey Kong Country is aged poorly, where the gameplay itself is really good, but you look at graphics, which, while groundbreaking at the time, yet they don't look the best nowadays, especially when you have it on Ultra 4K, HD, 8K, 12K, 14 million K TVs, where you get to see each individual pixel. It doesn't look as good. Back when it was on a CRT and much less powerful TVs, it kind of blurred the pixels together to make it seem even more 3D than they actually were. See, this is why I feel this game, as well as Donkey Kong Countries and other ones that have the same kind of deal when it comes to looks, really does deserve a remake, especially since it was the very first Mario RPG and was kind of the basis for all the other ones. In fact, it split it down into two separate pieces, and that's pretty much two main Mario franchises today, with RPG ones. Despite the fact that Paper Mario 64 is supposedly the second Mario RPG, even though it was started off as that, but then became its own thing, I feel like Mario and Luigi are the ones that really got a lot of other elements right. See, Super Mario RPG had quite a bit of platforming in it because they wanted to get that Super Mario World-esque stuff into RPG forms. There was quite a lot of funny jumping, and that's what Mario and Luigi has, especially when compared to Paper Mario, which there is very rarely any platforming challenges in there. In fact, as the series has went on, there's been less and less and less and less. The humor element, I also feel, has went a lot more into the Mario and Luigi titles, rather than Paper Mario. Like, just watch some of these cutscenes and it'll just scream, that's Mario and Luigi, that's not Paper Mario, that's not Paper Mario where Mario goes, ah, and does nothing. No, this is Mario and Luigi where they're funny. While the more serious story and interconnected worlds went a lot more into the Paper Mario side of things. Except for Thousand Year Door, as I already said. Overall, this is a very, very good game, which really did surprise me when I originally played it. I had expected it to not have aged as well, or be just not as good as the Mario and Luigi or Paper Mario franchises, but no. It was not only its own separate thing, but its own separate good thing. And I am kind of sad that we never did get to see a proper sequel to it. With the same writing talent, with the same musical score, with all that. Because as much as I do love Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi especially, they just can't get that same kind of atmosphere and feel. Paper Mario, beloved franchise, right? Other than the most recent 3DS title, overall it has done very, very well in the eyes of both proper critics, the mass, and, of course, the main Nintendo fans. Mario and Luigi, every single title so far has done amazingly, and it has always been showered with high praise and pretty darn good sales. So what if these two were combined? Combine the best elements of both of these, combine the humor out of the Mario and Luigi series, the proper good stories and characters from Paper Mario, put these into one title where the two of them share the same stage, the same spotlight, and it should have resulted in the best video game ever made. Instead, we got Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, which, hold on, let me just check in this tier. It's good. The game did not have a super deep story where Fawful came back to life and Dimentio came back to life, and look, now they're teamed up and are gonna destroy the universe. It did not have that. It didn't really have interactions between its unique characters in the Paper Mario and unique characters from Mario and Luigi, other than Starlo, but there's no Paper Starlo. Also, Starlo, can you just leave already? Like, why are you here? You know, Dream Team, I guess you needed somebody to be able to fiddle about with Luigi's mustache, but you're literally only here to say the occasional line. You know what would have been cooler than Starlo? Paper Luigi has been criminally underutilized as of late. Okay, well, the Origami King, they were given a fair bit more screen time. Arguably more than 64 in the Thousand Year Door, but still, they were very underutilized in Sticker Star and then in Color Splash, which released after this. What if Paper Luigi ended up replacing Starlo? That would have been so much better, as Paper Luigi talks. We've seen him talk in multiple titles. Like, that would work really well. That way, he can be the explanation funny man, instead of him just being relegated to, oh, look, he's in the screen for listening to music, which, you know, that's a nice thing to have in games, but YouTube uploads, I mean, at the same time, it makes YouTube uploads possible, so. Originally, the developers did consider mixing these two franchises and having interactions between all of its unique characters and such. They had a couple ideas, but then they realized that, you know, it just would have been really difficult. They originally had plans where you'd hop between the paper world and the 3D world, which, look, I'm gonna assume, based off the previous two titles, one of the worlds would be entirely 2D and one of them would be 3D. You know, that's how Bowser's Inside Story worked, that's how Dream Team worked, that would probably be how this system worked, but it didn't happen. They had planned, or another idea, where the world would slowly get corrupted and turned into paper, which he had a little bit of here, but, you know, it didn't really have nearly as much as they had originally described. However, they said that the plot would be just a complete muddle that wouldn't resonate with anyone. See, this is why I almost feel like they should get the opinion of people from outside of Nintendo headquarters. Occasionally, drag some random fan off the street in and go, does this good or does it blow? Because see, Sticker Star, that originally started off as a 1,000 Year Door 2, pretty much. A Miyamoto man said, no, let's do something different. I saw some stickers over there, why don't you make a game like those bad boys? This game is generic with a capital everything. In fact, I'd argue that it is more generic than Sticker Star is. Because, you know what, for as little as Sticker Star had, it still had some things that were unique. It still had the funny haunted mansion with the ghost. It still had the funny forest, and I'm saying funny a lot, the poison forest that lasted a bit too long. It still had the weird, creepy toad things inside of the desert place. It had all these little unique elements, when this game, there isn't a single unique bone in its body. Like, other than Starlo, which was created back in 2009, this was like 6 years ago from the release of this game. That isn't super unique. Sure, it did do a lot of cool things, such as bringing bosses like King Boo and enemies that have not been seen in a good long while into the spotlight. I mean, I say spotlight, they're just also enemies in the game, but you know, that's cool. Punchy Man from New Super Mario Bros. They're back, they're an enemy, nice. Anyway, back to the generic. It's New Super Mario Bros. It's just New Super Mario Bros. The plot is, Bowser has kidnapped Peach. Oh no, let's go to his lava castle. Where you go grassland, you have a desert, you have a beach level, you have a forest that's somewhat spooky. Oh no, you have funny lava. Did I mention we have a desert? We have a desert, we have a snowy, we have a mountain, we also have a desert. Have I mentioned the fact there's a bloody desert yet? Okay, a little bit of a side tangent here. I don't like desert levels in games. I really don't. I did not like the one in Paper Mario. I did not like the one in Bug Fables. Didn't like the one in Dream Team. Didn't like the one here. See, this is why Bowser's Inside Story is the best one, because there is no desert level. None. None at all. What would the gimmick for Inside Bowser even be in a desert level? Like, what? If he's in the shade, then everything's all normal, but when he's out, he's all dehydrated, so his skin shrivels up inside or something? I don't know. Also, all 7 of the Koopalings are back. Yippee! I sure do love the Koopalings. Yep. Nobody wants to see any more of these guys. Ever. For Christ's sake, they're created all the way back in Mario Bros. 3. And then they were in World, and every single new Super Mario Bros. Game. And then they were in Color Splash, and we are very, very lucky not to have had them in 3D Land or 3D World. Like, I mean, they still brought Boom Boom in, which was also from Mario Bros. 3, but that's a little bit cooler because he wasn't used as much. Why is this game then in pretty good, you might be thinking? After all of the 6 minutes of complaints I've been doing, why have you this game in high regard to some of the titles that you've not mentioned yet, which, as I'm the viewer and smart, I know of and I'm going to complain to you about? You see, this game has the most refined battle system in the entire Mario & Luigi series. Except for maybe the Superstar Saga remake, but this is fantastic. The battles are actually somewhat challenging. I mean, when you've got a bunch of people complaining that the final boss is hard, you know you've done your job right. Final bosses are supposed to be difficult. However, this game does not scare off newcomers or people who are quite young, as there still are easier modes. You have an easy mode, you have the fact that there's a super easy mode, all this stuff to make sure that everybody can play, but if you're an alpha gamer like I am, then you're still able to get that more challenging part. Not only that, but also this game introduced the oh-so-holy fast-forward feature. This would have been a lifesaver in the previous title. We'll be getting to that later. In fact, they could have added it to that title because the 3DS could do updates. Why didn't they do that? Yes, fast-forwarding. You can skip through cutscenes. Not only that, but tutorials, they have been sliced the hell down. Now, every single tutorial that would have taken you a good 5 minutes has been crammed down into a little book in the bottom right that you can read at any time. So, if you already know what you're doing, you don't have to sit through ages of tutorials. Oh, you might... Yeah, I'm talking about Dream Team quite a bit, or comparing this to Dream Team quite a bit, because, you know, they both race for the same system. So yes, despite just how abysmal the creativity of this game is, despite how smelly the writing is, and how generic it is in general, there's a lot of G's. This game's battle system almost picks that up and fixes it and makes it better than some of the games we're going to be discussing next. That is... wow. That's how you know a game is done good. Now, what we'll be talking about next is the exact opposite of this game, except for one feature they both share, which is the writing. Very good. See, writing and story is very, very different. Writing, you can have funny, but a bad story, then you can have a bad story, and no funny. This next category is alright. These games are alright, you know, quite middle of the road, still good enough that, you know, if you don't really have anything else to play, I wouldn't be too angry or too confused if you went and played some of these. However, they're not fantastic games that you should pick up right this second, or else you've lived a horrible life. This is also the last tier where you should really, you know, care about what I say and care about the placements, because the next two after this, no, those ones are, like, completely stupid, entirely me opinions. There is no facts or evidence in those ones. I mean, there is because I'm always right, but also there is not. Please don't take them seriously. You all will anyway, because they're pure garbage, but still. There is a reason why most people talk about Paper Mario in a set of 2 trilogies. Not just because a trilogy is quite a nice, you know, good number for a series of games, but also because there is a giant shift in how these franchises, or how this franchise was after this third title. After Super Paper Mario, the next title was very, very different. First of all, it was the first one to ever be released on handheld, so that's fun. It was also the first title to completely remove everything which made people fall in love with the franchise in the first place. We're talking about Sticker Star, baby! Woo! Paper Mario Sticker Star is an enigma, to say the least. Going from a series which was previously well known for its stories, its interconnected world, its all these different elements, unique characters and whatnot, to then go to this. A very generic game with a world map with no story whatsoever. As well as also making it so Bowser didn't talk. Why did you do this, Nintendo? Bowser in the RPGs is one of the best elements. He does not get a chance to speak most of the time. The only time he ever really got to speak in a proper game, I believe, would be 64, Galaxy, the 3 or 4 main 3D Marios, but are you really gonna count Sunshine? That one smells funny. RPG Bowser has always been portrayed a lot more as a goof, while in those games he's this big, menacing being that can destroy everything. Once again, RPGs, oh look at me, I'm Bowser, I spit fire and have spikes, oh noes, I failed to kidnap the princess. And that's really enjoyable. So once again, no him speaking in this game, very bad Nintendo, 0. Waste of Bowser. Also, Princess Peach has very few lines in this game, which is very abnormal, because once again, you go from all 3 previous titles where she's playable. This one, she's not playable, you see barely any of her, and the bit that you do see, she seems a lot more like Mario and Luigi Peach. See, Paper Mario, I believe, is the only Mario franchise that has Peach portrayed in any form of interesting way. See, the reason why so many people hate Princess Peach is because, as a character, she kind of blows. She's the generic thing that the funny person you play as, or are watching, has to save. She's your end goal, she's the happily ever after whatever, a character that has existed for years. So Paper Mario actually fleshing her out, well, there's more Mario RPG that did so, but fleshing her out, good. So why are we reverting back to nothing? That's stupid. Speaking of stupid, as I had previously talked about, this game originally was a lot more like the Thousand Year Door. In fact, if you look at some of the screenshots shown of an E3 demo, this game fell a lot more in line with the first 2 titles, which a lot of people had missed with Super. One thing that I distinctly remember is a Monty Mole boss in an area where there's a bunch of cards on the ground. That seems so interesting and so much fun, with a funny chain jump partner along with you. However, Miyamoto Man came in and ruined everything. He destroyed the world and put an evil curse on every single member of the team, or if they make any unique characters, they get shot in the leg, other than Kirsty. Of course, I'm exaggerating a bit, but, you know, that's essentially what happened. He came in, he said, no, do something less like the game that everybody loved. Okay, here's the game. Wow, that game's so great, let's make 2 of them. However, for some ungodly reason, I enjoy this game. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the music, maybe it's because I had played it so many years back that I have such fond memories of it. Don't know why, but I just really enjoy this game. I really enjoy it. I really shouldn't. As I just said, the music, I really enjoy it. Pretty much everyone really enjoys it. If you ever ask somebody, name one good thing about Sticker Star, they'll always say, oh, the music was quite good, which, it's a Paper Mario game. Of course the music's good. However, I feel that this doesn't get appreciated nearly enough as it should, because some of them, whoa, though, amazing. The world map theme, which I believe is a thing being played in the background. The World 6 world map theme, also amazing. The final boss theme, also amazing. The normal battle theme, also amazing. There's a lot of amazings. And while yes, the majority of the puzzles are cryptic, and yes, if you go into a battle without the right thing sticker that you need, you will die. And while yes, fighting any enemy that is not required is entirely pointless, in fact, it probably gives you less of a chance of surviving your next boss encounter, I enjoyed this game. That's all I can really say. After the release of Sticker Star, every single fan across the universe was in uproar. Like, critics were giving the game, quite decent numbers. of course, just so they can continuously get their free games from Nintendo, and because they're probably bribed. But fans, no, they were angry. Very, very angry. Nintendo had made a game that was the exact opposite of what they wanted to see in a Paper Mario title. There was no story. There was no reason to battle. There was nothing. You lose, good day, sir. So, seeing all this, Nintendo had the bright idea of, hey, what if we make a sequel to this notorious hated game on our system, the Wii U, which nobody bought? And that went about as well as you can expect it to. Paper Mario Color Splash. I will mention another opposite somewhere in here. Now, Paper Mario Color Splash, a lot of people, when you ever ask about this game, when it comes to Paper Mario, they'll say, oh, it's a step up from Sticker Star, but still not what I'd like to see. Which, yeah, it's a step up from Sticker Star. It does a lot of things much better. There's a little bit more of an incentive to fight now, as enemies will drop scraps, which will give you bits up to upgrade your paint, but paint is everywhere in the world anyway, so it's kinda useless. The battle system still requires pieces that disintegrate after you use them once, so there still isn't really too much of a purpose for battling. There's still only one completely brand new character, there's still a Bowser getting to be the final boss, there's still a Peach getting kidnapped. It's still the same game, but improved in so many ways, such as locations. There are a lot more unique locations in this game. Sure, they straight up stole the Haunted Mansion thing from the Sticker Star, but, you know, the rest of the stuff is still quite unique. Still get to explore alternate dimensions of the same place that are all spooky and weird. You still get to explore a giant cool skull in the middle of the ocean. Yeah, I'm talking a lot about one specific star. There's also a circus. Speaking of stars, once again, this game follows along with the tried and true tradition of collect the stars that are roughly 7-ish. In this game it was 6, and in Sticker Star it was 6. To then get to the boss who's up in the sky, because he's always up in the sky. This game's story is that, oh no, the paint from this place is getting sapped. However, one first thing that this game does really well is that it isn't set in the Mushroom Kingdom. It's set in a completely new place, which only ever happened twice before in the Paper Mario franchise. The game's main bosses are all the Koopalings, which, you know, that's one thing I will give Sticker Star again as well, is that its bosses weren't just rehashes of ones that have already existed. Sure, it was just Big Goomba, Big Pokey, Big Snow, no, Big Cool Ass Bowser, wow, whoa, that's really cool. Petey Piranha, Big Blooper with some amazing music, wow, that was also a really good one, well done, and Bowser. However, I actually did really enjoy the inclusion of the Koopalings this time, because they were written really well. They have been actually given characters now. I mean, that was more in Paper Jam before, but still, they have character. They're a lot more interesting characters now than, we are Bowser's kids that were adopted. Hi, we're going to kill you now. You know, they're something, which is good. This game also improves on Sticker Star, where instead of having to drag your things all the way to the Funny Man and Toad Town, throwing it at the board one by one to slowly get it, and them taking a giant amount of space depending on how powerful they were, now, you pick them up, bam, immediately they're a card, and there you go, you don't have any more issues. Not only that, but now you also have a funny little man in Rogueport. Oops, not Rogueport. Fun fact, another reason why some people might dislike this game is that it starts off in a very similar way to Thousand Year Door. You're on a boat, Princess Peach is on a boat, you arrive at a mysterious place. It's cool. Anyway, you have a little man in a little can, and he tells you, oh, you'll need an item that goes by this description. So he'll say, oh look, this item's cold, and looks like a cube. Oh, I'll need an ice cube. No, I'm definitely not saying that, wink wink. Though still, if you had to put in a fail-safe measure like that to make sure people don't get stuck, maybe you should rethink puzzles? No? Okay. Anyway, I don't enjoy this game as much as Sticker Star, despite the fact it's better. Yet, especially with the next couple things you're going to be saying in the funny frowny face tier, you're able to tell that I'm insane when it comes to Paper Mario, but I just don't enjoy it as much. I prefer Sticker Star with funny music and the fact it's on 3DS, though this game is 100% a step up and an improvement in literally every single individual way. Now, one thing I want to quickly discuss is that this game is the exact opposite of Paper Jam. Paper Jam has really, really, really good gameplay, but then terrible everything else, while Cargo Splash has good everything else, but terrible gameplay. See, if only like the two teams could have, worked together and bam, we would have gotten a game that is fun to play in every single way. So, to end off the is alright tier, Funny Mario and Luigi time. Superstar Saga. It's the original one, as I already said. It has a lot of elements that really remind me of Super Mario RPG, and it has not aged well. Pretty much everything they said in the Superstar Saga DX is the exact same here. It's a really enjoyable game, but this one just has so many elements that didn't really age too well. Especially with how just different it's a series, how the hammers work, how the jump works, how every enemy looks, how the damage is dealt. It's just very, very different. And while different is not necessarily a bad thing, it is a bad thing in this situation. I just don't enjoy it. I beat it after playing every other Mario and Luigi before it, so it's definitely possible to readjust, just I really prefer to play the remake, and you have to play the remake because that's my opinion. Now, on to the last two tiers. I'm just going to be explaining the first one here though, but these two share the same thing where don't take them seriously. These two tiers have games that arguably should be in some other place along this horrible tier list I've made, whether it's is alright or pretty good or super, but there's just something in this game that I personally don't like that breaks the whole experience. It makes it so I cannot bring myself to play these titles. So, without further ado, let's get ready for the part that will make people very mad. Picture this. You are Alpha Dream, a company that has worked with Nintendo for a good long while now, making Mario and Luigi titles for them. You've only just made your third installment in said franchise, and it is doing very well in sales, very well in reception, very well in everything. You have made almost a perfect game. What are you supposed to do after that? Do you retire? You give up because you're never going to make something as good as that again? Do you try your darndest to make the game just as good as that? Or do you make Dream Team, a game that's no thank you? I don't like watching live streams. I don't like watching Twitch because it has everything in it. Yes, this is still me talking about Dream Team. See, live streams don't have the best bits. I mean, they do, but they also have the worst bits. And the bits where the guy stands up and goes to the bathroom for about 20 minutes. That usually doesn't happen within proper videos. Now, how does this relate to Dream Team? Well, in that game, in almost every single level, at least every half an hour, oh, what's this? It's a new Luiginary. Oh, it's this? It's a new move. Do you want to learn how to do this move? No, I've already played the game 30 times. Oh, well, I'm going to teach you the move anyway. It's going to take 5 minutes. See, I hate this game because of the constant bloody tutorials. Every single second that you're alive. Oh, time for a tutorial. Here's a new Luiginary. See, you touch his nose and he sneezes. Okay, so touch his nose. Okay, did it. Is that the tutorial? No, we're gonna have another, maybe 50 lines of dialogue. Oh, they're gonna have you do it about 50 more times. Oh, then in the very next room, you're gonna have to do it again. Oh. Even in the final level, yes, the final level of the game, you know what you're still getting? Tutorials. See, this is why I prefer Paper Jam, because Paper Jam removes every single tutorial and makes it so you can fast forward cutscenes. And as I said earlier, this game could really deal with that, because a lot of the cutscenes are just fine, You know, when you've got the beach segment where you're going around, all these weird, funny creatures get their eggs, they just have cutscenes that last for hours upon hours. Of course, that's an exaggeration, only like, what, 5 minutes? But that 5 minutes just drags on and on. I just want to get to the part where you get to do the Mario and Luigi stuff, you know, jumping on enemies, spamming the exact same attack over and over until you reach a new attack, where you then spam that one over and over, but no, no, you have to wait. I hate that. No, thank you. Not only that, but also this game feels so long. That is in part due to the constant tutorials and the long cutscenes, but it just feels like it drags. Part of that, to me at least, is just go to Bowser's Inside Story, right? When you feel like you've been playing Mario and Luigi for a bit too long, you get to play as Bowser. You're going about, you're slide punching into enemies, you're doing all this cool stuff. Then you go back to Mario and Luigi, you get your classic Mario and Luigi gameplay, and you get to switch back and forth. On this one, Dream Combat and Normal Combat are just so disgustingly similar, really. In fact, I'd argue Dream Combat is just less interesting, especially when it comes to attacks. See, in Dream Combat, when it comes to attacks, you dodge them by going up or down, while normally, A or B, so you have to pay attention to which way, you know, let's say their eyes move. If one eye moves to the left, one eye moves to the right, then you have to jump both. Stuff like that. But here it's just, oh, make sure you walk to the area where enemies aren't coming, and it never evolves past that. There is no increase in difficulty with those types of attacks. Also, though this bit is a little bit more personal preference, I don't like the 2D models on the 3D backgrounds. I really don't like it. This is why I love the Superstar Saga remake, that it had pixel art and was beautiful. Just, wow, amazing. But then this game has alright looking 3D models and pretty good looking sprites on top of it. I just prefer if they either made everything 3D, which I know they couldn't do, or made everything 2D, which they very much could do. But no, it's 3D and 2D, and I feel like that clashes. Also, the locations of this game are a little bit more generic than people really want to admit. No, you have your grasslands, your desert, you have your poisonous woods, you have a beach, you have Funny Mountain, which has lava in it. You know, we've seen that so many times before. Bowser's the final boss in every single game. Don't ask me how it's possible in Bowser's Inside Story, you just gotta play that yourself. But he's always the final boss, which, you know what, sure, I'm fine with that. But when he's the main antagonist in a game, sure, this time it's shared with Funny Batman, but, you know, I don't like that as much. I like how he was portrayed in Thousand Year Door, where he's a little side villain. You know, you've got your big main guy you're going for, but occasionally he pops up and annoys you, like Junior Krupa did in 64. Next, the bros moves, I don't like them nearly as much as ones from previous titles. Like, the new shell, no, look, I get it, you're on the 3DS, you want it to be a little bit more, you know, pop-outy when it comes to the attacks, but I just don't care. Just have the old shell, that was cool. You've also got this stupid skateboard one, which, no thank you, and you've got a bunch of other ones which just no. I think the only one that I could really tolerate was the funny Drop Chopper one, which had motion controls, and the funny Star one, which also had motion controls, so things are looking great. The Luigi Nary attacks also had motion controls, but I feel that these ones were a lot better on average. But even then, you still have a couple stinkers, and there was a lot less of them though, similar to Bowser's Minions attacks. Overall, this game is just eh. The pandemic had just started. I was still enjoying Animal Crossing at that time, and there was still work from school coming on in. I went to my funny Xbox and put on some YouTube on the big screen, because that's cool. What do I see in the main page? Oh, a new Paper Mario game. I get incredibly excited. I run down, I grab a snack, I run back up. On the way there I thought, this game is called the Origami King. That's another paper thing. This game is going to be really paper reliant, isn't it? Oh, it's going to be not like the ones I want. I then watched it and thought, whoa, this is so interesting, this looks so cool. Also, I wish this was in a Nintendo Direct, because that reveal of funny Origami Peach walking through the door, that would have been way cooler if I didn't already see the thumbnail, the title, the description, the comments, the everything. The game then released, and I decided, you know what? This isn't going to sour my opinion on the game at all. I'm going to let's play it. And then I did. My thought process at the time was, then I can look back on it for when I make the review on it, so I can go, look, if you don't believe me, this is I literally show in this video, this is how I felt at the time. I really do regret making those videos nowadays, though. I put so little effort into them, and it just made me not want to play the game nearly as much as I ended up doing. So, a good while afterwards, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna have the experience I did of Let's Playing it, and the experience of not Let's Playing it in my head at the same time. I didn't make it past Chapter 5. See, the thing about this game, as you might notice, it is the lowest of every single Paper Mario title, which may make you think, okay, no, seriously, what are you on about? Is this a joke? Are you doing haha funny? Is this list upside down? No, see, this game has so many things right, gets so many things so, I know I'm saying so a lot, ridiculously close to what I want to see in a new Paper Mario. There's many an element that is perfect, spot on, that's what I want. But there's just a couple things, just a few, that drag the experience down, and because it's so close, I keep thinking, this reminds me of 64 and Thousand Year Door. Ah man, that was so good, and I actually enjoyed doing battles in that game, and I enjoyed the characters, and I enjoyed this, and I enjoyed this, and I just will be thinking about those games the entire time. You know that one funny image of the guy holding his hands with the girlfriend looking over at the other woman? That's me, the entire time. I'm just constantly thinking of the good games. And that's really unfair, but because of how similar this is to what I want, I have difficulty separating the two. Many of the interviews after this game had released has revealed a horrifying picture of what was going on in the development of this. See, essentially, the makers of this game have a line that they can't cross. Now, of course, every single game has a line that they can't cross, and a lot of the time, this line is fine. It is good. Like, look at the line for Mario and Luigi Bars Inside Story, That line is so far away that they don't even need to kind of push at it and find ways around it to get the game they want. No, they're given the freedom, they're given the space to make the game that they need. While, for Paper Mario, this line is stopping them from doing so many of the things that we as fans want and they as creators want to do. See, essentially, they aren't allowed to fiddle about with pre-existing characters. Now, of course they're able to do this a couple times in the game, but that's because they had certain things going about with it, like, oh, yes, they're dressed up differently, but it's because they're in a theme park, and, they like dressing up differently. Or, these guys are origami guys, not Mushroom Kingdom guys, no, these are invaders that are origami. They do so many of these weird things just so they can, push that little bit more, just so they can have a Toad wear a hat, have the Goomba have a mustache, so they can do these things, and that's just sad. I want the team to have the same freedom that they could have in 64 and Thousand Year Door and, Super. I want them to be able to push. I want them to be able to have these weird character designs, this epic story. I mean, sure, this game still had a pretty good story, but, This game does do a lot right, though. The music is phenomenal. The fact that the world is interconnected once more is amazing. I really like how, after you beat a boss, you get to see Princess Peach's castle get opened a little bit more and more and more. Luigi has a bunch of lines in this game and appears throughout the story, which, thank you, Nintendo. You once again get partners in this game. See, I say it like that because they're never permanent partners, and they don't have any abilities, bar one of them. See, you start off with good old Bobby Baba Man, who does not have a name. See, we just call him that, but his name is Bob-omb. But Olivia calls him that because she's a child, question mark. Then we have a Indiana Jones lookalike Toad Man, because why not? He's the only one with an actual ability, which is you press down on the D-pad, he does the little funny diggy. Doing this in random places, will he, like, a coin? Maybe? Maybe not? Who knows? I never really tested it. But doing this on a glowy patch will result in many things, such as origami toads, or, I don't know, confetti, trophies, Speaking of which, this game has collectibles, throughout every single location, which, despite the fact that it's all interconnected, they are essentially broke up into levels. Each of these levels have, little funny graffiti holes you need to fill in, and, you use confetti, they're not confetti holes. And there's statues to collect, and all the toads have been folded up into little funny origami creatures, so we gotta hit those and find them. Toad finding seems to be something carried over from Paper Jam. But YouTuber and Twitter user and Scratch user and MySpace user, the awesome GN, if you like this game in so many ways, then why do you hate it? Well, you see, you funny little person watching this, I hate this game, because, as I said earlier, it's a bit too close to the older titles, and the battle system, oh dear Christ, I don't know how they managed to make one worse than Sticker Star and Color Splash, but they did. They made one worse than that. How did they go out of their way to do this? Have they been playing a social experiment for like years upon years, ever since the release of Bowser's Inside Story, to see how they could mess with people's minds? Like, what? Who? When? See, this game uses a ring-based system. See, and you can turn the ring, so it's turn-based. Ha 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 ha. I hate you, Nintendo. And I hate it. It makes every single encounter essentially a puzzle, where you have to rotate the ring to a specific way to solve it. There you go, now I get to fight the enemy. Now, as you might be able to tell from my playing through of the game, I'm not smart at the puzzles, so I hated the battles a little bit more. And sometimes, oh boy, sometimes, the battles just didn't work. They just straight up would not work. Like, I don't understand how they manage. Once again, I don't understand how they manage, but the battles sometimes don't work, such as one of them essentially makes a maze, and they have to rotate it back to said maze so that you can traverse and hit the enemy. But they'd make some random tiles inaccessible, and sometimes these random tiles would be the very ones that you need to actually complete that funny maze bit and attack them, so that's not good. Also, ring system, need I have to mention again, I'm gonna say it again, I don't like it. It is bad. I dislike it verily. Very bad, 0 out of 10. Now, here's another funny little thing about the ring system. In every single Mario, or Paper Mario title, there's a game show, because why not? 64 had Chuck Quizmo, Slice in Your Door had the two Thwomp guys, Super had That's My Merlee, you had Sniff It or Whiff It in both Sticker Star and Color Splash. In this one, you have Shy Guys finish last. See, first of all, funny name, but all these minigames, to answer, you need to use the ring. Why? You were so close. See, they didn't use the ring system, they didn't use the battle systems in Sticker Star or Color Splash. They had that be its own separate little thing, but in this game they felt, no, we have to use the ring for this. We have to make it so even if you perfectly calculate how many Shy Guys went into the funny water, you're still going to have a difficult time answering, because you have to rotate the ring, and then you have to slide the ring, you have to do all these different stupid annoying little pieces. See, it's because of stuff like that that I didn't 100% the game. Because of so many annoying little bits like that I just think, you know what? No. There's a line I don't want to cross. This is it. No, thank you. This is the type of game where for the rest of my life I'll think, oh, this game is great. I love the music. I love this. And the second I think maybe I should replay it, oh, the battle system sucks. Oh, this part. Oh, this part. Oh. Poopy. Stinky. This very last tier, as I already said with the previous tier explanation, these two should not be really taken seriously, but this one, unlike the previous one, this one has 0 redeeming qualities. Whatever is in this tier, which there's only one thing, and if you know your Mario and Luigi RPGs, like you should, you will know exactly what's in this one. This is for the pure garbage, the stuff that should never be remembered, that should be forgotten in history, the stinky, poopy, disgusting, that should never be looked at again. This game baffles me, to say the least. It is such an interesting poop storm. Can't say swears on this channel, that's a no-no. I mean, I can if I really want to, but I just prefer not. It's just such a weird mixture of so many annoying... I can't even put into words. That could partially be due to the fact that this video is, I don't even know how long now, probably a bajillion hours. It could be due to the fact that it's almost 12 at night. I just can't even form words for this thing. 2 whole years. No. Actually, you know what? You have just released Superstar Saga DX. Pretend you're dreaming for a second. Pretend you've just released that. The Nintendo Switch has recently hit the store shelves and has already sold better than the Wii U. But I mean, like, let's be honest, it just had to sell like 10 systems to have sold better than the Wii U. What are you gonna do? Now, do you know what Alpha Dream did? Something that, though I can understand why they thought it would be smart, was stupid. They put half the team to work on a remake of their most critically acclaimed title within the franchise for the 3DS, and they let the other half of their team go and assist in the next Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games game. Why? Because they wanted to learn how to make HD models. So, the prospect of that sounds exciting. The Mario and Luigi in HD, full 3D, oh my god, that is amazing. However, this decision is what led to their company closing. Now, the Bowser's Inside Story remake, name drop, wow, is something that I was very, very excited for. You know, picture this, you're me. I know that's a disgusting thing to imagine, but just for a second, you're me. You love Bowser's Inside Story. What's this? You're watching a Nintendo Direct? Oh my god, is that Bowser's Inside Story? Oh my god, they are remaking one of my favorite games of all time. This is fantastic. Then, you save up money to buy a new 2DS because your 3DS's right bumper is a bit stinky from playing all the Mario and Luigi. Buy a new 2DS. Not a new 2DS, no, you buy a 2DS. Not the new 2DS, no, a new 2DS, not a new 2DS. This joke has gone on far enough. As well as a copy of Bowser's Inside Story DX. You then pop it in, and you play it. And despite all the red flags, despite the leaked videos of, oh, they've removed the title screen, which was absolutely fantastic and better than it really had any right to be. Oh, the Bowser fights are now in 3D, which looks uglier than the GameCube and is glitching about way too much, and oh, it runs poorly as well. That's a nice touch. Despite all those things, still pop it in. We still play it. And it's terrible. So many people enjoyed this remake. That's a lie, haha. There's a good couple people out there that do prefer this remake from the original. You know what? I respect you. Because you're able to look at this piece of garbage and you're able to fool yourself and think that this is good. You know what's a fun fact? I know that this just sounds like the insane ramblings of a man who has lost all sanity, which, I mean, I have. It's been like, what, almost 1,000 days since the last Mario and Luigi, which was this. You know, it's been like 5,000 since the last completely original one. So, you know, I kind of have lost a little bit when it comes to this franchise. Like, this game is one of the worst selling Mario games ever. Like, it's either worse or better than some of the ones on the Virtual Boy. The Virtual Boy. That is such a failure of a console that if your sales reach anywhere near that, especially in a franchise that is so well known, so well loved, you know you have made a big mistake. Now, Alpha Dream was already a little bit in the red. Well, not in the red, but because they had released their remake of Superstar Saga for the 3DS in 2017, they didn't make too much money. So then mixing that with this game's abysmal sales, and yeah, Alpha Dream died. No more Alpha Dream. And that is something really sad, and it really sucks. I love Alpha Dream. I love the games that they've made. Outside of the Mario and Luigi ones, Tomato Adventure, which has so many elements from Mario & Luigi, that is surprisingly enjoyable. The funny Hamtaro games with the funny hamster man, I'm saying funny a lot, that was also a surprisingly enjoyable game. That company just gone because of this game. That is so sad. You know, despite their best efforts, they failed. It just makes me think, you know, what if instead of doing this stupid thing, they went, you know what, let's make beautiful pixel art graphics, which we've already done before, and put that on Switch. But no, they thought, no, people would never play a game with 2D graphics in the year 2019. There isn't a single well-acclaimed game out there that has pixel graphics of any kind. Undertale is so well loved, and that looks like the game that I made for a game jam where I had a week. And if you ever tried to look for that game and played it, you know how mediocre that looks. No shame on Undertale at all, but like, you know, it's not exactly the most detailed pixel art ever. Anyway, let's talk more about the game itself. We've talked about all these things all around the game of why it was horrible and stinky. Let's talk about the game itself. Oh boy, they ruined the title screen. Already said that. The big Bowser battle. See, in the original, you got to be a giant Bowser and you'd fight either a castle or a tower or a train. Okay, yeah, what you're fighting was exactly great. They fixed that quite a bit in Dream Team, but, you know, it was cool. You are giant and you're punching things and it's awesome. So, in the remake, they made it all 3D models, which, no, what is with you, Alpha Dream? Why are you constantly thinking that it is a requirement, a need to make things 3D? No. It's because of that why so many games from around, you know, the N64 and PlayStation era look like poo-poo nowadays, because they felt that it was required to do 3D. And like, the worst part about these 3D models is that it lags the game out to hell. It makes the battles feel so much, you know, worse. It feels like you're in a bunch of molasses and you're trying to punch. It's just so slow and so glitchy. And they also added this element from Dream Team. And see, when you're at the end of a Dream Team big fight, you do a funny finishing move, right? See, in Bowser State's story, it was just, you punch him, you burn him, you do whatever until they're dead. But then they thought, no, let's make the remake a lot more like Dream Team and have it so you have to do this stupid finishing move. And the finishing move just, it runs poorly and it looks so stupid. It is, why? Speaking of 3D, see, in the original Bowser Inside story, in the background of all the Bowser levels, it was fine. It did the job. Some of them, I'd argue, are really, really good. You know, like, I'm happy with the way that they looked. They didn't really need changing. And then the remake was like, okay, but like, what if we made all of them stupid 3D things that would sometimes lag the game out? And then, there you go. First location, Trash Pit. See, originally it was this really, you know, damp looking place, which is fitting because you're inside of somebody's body and you're in a quote-unquote trash pit, which is where all the garbage goes, which Mario and Luigi aren't garbage. Okay, maybe Mario, but Luigi, he is not garbage. So, of course, that place is supposed to look a little bit gross, a little bit damp, disgusting. Then the remake, it looks yellow, like Bowser's skin. No, or scales, and that's weird. The background has giant viruses, and that's weird. Why? That is very weird. And the rest of them just, I don't know. I'd honestly prefer the very simplistic looking ones in Bowser's Inside Story if it meant the game would run well. The only one that I think looks better, even though it does slow down the game quite a bit, is the one in the airways, where instead of it being whatever the hell it is, I just played the game there now in the airways and I already forgot what it looks like, but instead of that, it's these weird poles that almost look like a bunch of trees, and then when it's frozen it looks like a dark forest, some stuff you'd expect Slenderman to pop up in. That's cool, you know what, fine, props on you. In fact, one thing that I will give the remake is that, I know I said that this tier has no redeeming elements, but shut up. One thing I will give the remake is that it does have, that last bit of the game is really good. See, the game's seriousness gets cranked up to a 20 when, spoiler alert, Bowser goes into the funny castle and takes the funny Dark Star in him. See, before, they would use the same boss battle music when you're fighting the Dark Star inside Bowser that you hear when you're fighting literal bugs. So in the remake, they actually changed that. They made it so that the Dark Star had its own unique theme, and then when you go out to go fight the Dark Fawful, they remixed one of the themes from Superstar Saga into a weird, twisted and dark and scary one. And I like that. That's a really wonderful decision they made. And the castle is a lot more fossilized and a lot more darker in tone, and there's a lot more wires, because of course the castle turns to giant robots, so now it looks more like it could do that. Another thing that they did exceptionally well, well done. I mean, they still messed up what the final boss song sounds like, but speaking of the final boss, when in the final boss, there's a part where Bowser eats the Dark Star essentially, and then you fight it as Mario and Luigi. Originally, in the background, it's just this weird mesh of colors and is kind of forgettable, to be honest, but in the remake, it's this weird purple place where you got, Fawful's, face engraved into it, and that's another really cool thing. Well done. But other than that, a lot of the changes they made in the remake either were so minuscule that they're, why? Just plain upgrades, which I can't really speak much about because they're plain upgrades, or downgrades. Speaking of downgrades, the music, oh god, listen to the minigame theme from the original, listen to the one from this, disgusting. So many of the songs have just removed that, or just don't have that oomph that was in the original. Now, if you listen to the two of them side by side, preferably with headphones, you can just really tell that one feels a lot more soulless, the remake, and one has so much more energy, the original. And I know this particular segment is going for quite a while in a video that's already, probably 2 bloody well hours long, but I don't like how they've made the game so excruciatingly easy that an infant could beat it. I get it, there are some complaints in this game. In fact, I couldn't even beat it when I was younger. I got stuck in the flab zone against the weird guy. I can't remember his name. He starts off as a bunch of grapes. Look, I'm fine with difficulty options in games. It allows more people to experience games, and that's great. I love it. It means that maybe one day they'll come back to this game and play it like a real gamer, like I am. But when you make a game easier, and don't provide options for hard modes, but still have easier modes, that just really annoys me, especially in a remake. The point of a remake is that you're supposed to add more to it. You're supposed to have the base game improve what's already there and put more onto it. But all this game does is take away, and then add a disgusting side mode, right? So remember Superstar Saga DX from way, 10 hours ago, however long this video is? Remember that? Remember how there's that little stupid side mode that I said was garbage? They brought it back for this. They improved it in a lot of ways. Now, not only can you change which alignment your team captain has, which you could kind of do in the last game, but that'd change the character completely. But you can also change the way the characters are placed, so you can have it in a specific order. And that added a little bit more strategy to it, but it was still just look up the cutscenes on YouTube, man. Just do that. Overall, this is just disgusting. I hate you. Please get out of my life. This killed Alpha Dream. This horrifying, disgusting, icky poo-poo head is what caused the death of Alpha Dream, and has made it so that the next Mario and Luigi game is probably 20 million years down the line. So, thanks.
Mamma mia!
So here we are, the end of this ridiculously long video that is gonna take me so long to edit. Well, what did you think, huh? Did you like my opinions? Did you despise them? You probably despise them, especially the Paper Mario ones, because dear Christ, when it comes to the Origami King and Sticker Star and Color Splash, those are some rotten opinions. And Dream Team's placement, you probably have an issue with that too, because that's disgusting. Ugh. But yeah, this is my biggest video ever, I believe. Maybe it's rivaled by one of my low-effort Let's Plays of Paper Mario the Origami King, but this is probably the video I've put the most effort into. Especially since I've now put audio that relates to what I'm talking about, along with gameplay, along with images, along with the audio. Like, it's a very big. And I almost kind of wish that I did not decide this project to do it. This project, where I spent half an hour just talking about Bowser's Inside Story, probably, let's be honest. Like, at the time of recording this specific bit, I don't even know how long all the segments are up together. Like, it's probably an hour long, you know? And I'm gonna have to make a really good thumbnail, otherwise people would just think, oh, this is probably just like a singular photo and somebody speaking, or gameplay of Black Ops 2. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying. It's really late. But if you did make it to the end here, thank you very much for sticking through. I don't know. Go watch something good. Go do something. Anyway, I'm gonna get a start at piecing this all together. Or sleeping. That'd probably be the smarter one. Night, lads.